Hi guys, this is an interesting one today. Talking about takeaway and torque in the golf swing. Sounds a little bit complicated, and it is, I'll be honest, it's not easy, but we will try and make it easy. So torque in the golf swing, the takeaway in the golf swing. People that I coach come and ask me, is my takeaway right? I feel as though my takeaway is wrong. I come and take the club back and my club head's closed, so the face of the club points to the ground, or it's open, so the face of the club's pointing to the sky. And then I have to do something at impact to try and get that ball or the club face back to square. Of course you're going to have to do something. So they work on takeaway. Okay, they try and get from this position, they try and get the club more up towards the sky, which is textbook stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean that has to happen. There could be another way for you to create a move on the way down that will cancel out what you've done on the way back. So torque, there's a couple of torques in the golf swing, or the way the club works. So two torques that don't fight against each other but can certainly work in conjunction with each other. They probably do fight against each other if they're not done correctly. So one of the torques is when the club head twists round the shaft. Okay, so that's a torque. So this club head, or the sweet spot I like to think more of, swings round the axis of the shaft. So we take the club back, we're hooded, so we've spun that club down the way, round the axis of the shaft, so something else has to give on the way down to get rid of that. The other torque is at impact when we come and hit the golf ball, the handle of the club, the handle end of the club comes closer to the body and the club head gets thrown outwards. So the handle comes in but the club head goes out. So we get this action, so that's another torque, so that's one torque and another torque. So if I take the club back, somebody comes to me with a takeaway that's incorrect, and they take the club back and it's all closed in a hooded position, then on the way down they need to reduce the other torque. So let's say this is torque number 1 and this is torque number 2. So if torque number 1's in play, let's call it, on the way back, then on the way down we need to reduce how much the handle comes close to the body and the head kicks out, torque number 2. So we need to come through more hands high, so the handle's away from the body and the head's kicking out a little bit less. So I can go back with lots of rotation around the shaft or hooded, and then come back down and try and raise the handle of the club to prevent number 2 from kicking in, which will square the club face up. So the takeaway is not necessarily wrong. It's the impact position that has to be correct in relation to that takeaway. So I can take the club away, here we go, rotate that round there, but have higher hands at impact. And then I'll get the ball going straight, so I'll get the club face square at impact. The opposite will happen as well. People who flip the club miles open, so they rotate this sweet spot round the shaft and they come back, the club's parallel to the ground, head's way behind the hands, or way behind the shaft. Then when they come down, they need to get a lot more of torque number 2. So they need to, sorry, there's a wasp on me. Just finished him off. So they need to really get this club head to pass the handle, not pass the handle, but get the club head to throw out to square the face up. So they start off with the club rotated, torque number 1, and then they increase torque number 2, and it squares the face up. So again, they hit a straight golf shot. So the takeaway, even though it looks wrong, doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong unless you don't combine the two torques together. So it's interesting on that. Or, yes, we try and get more neutral here, and then we can reduce torque number 2, so yes, it becomes square back, square through without anything having to happen whatsoever. But it's interesting. Give it a try. Go and play around with it. Just go and hit a couple of balls with the face closed, or the face rotated round the shaft, one with it open round the shaft, and see what you have to do at impact with that second torque. Do I have to have the club head thrown out more? Do I have to have the handle higher to square it? It's interesting, give it a try. Your takeaway looks wrong, doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong.